Like a lot of them are just like kind of trying to be funny and blathering on like me.
Hello and welcome to the Quackcast. This is the Drunkduck Quackcast. I'm Ozonation. We're up to number 608. And with me is Tance and Baines. Hello. Tance and Baines.
Hello.
Hello. So this week we're going to chat about relationships and couples and all that kind of bullshit that, you get in rom-coms and just everything. There's always pretty much always there's the goal of being in a relationship for these characters. Sometimes the goal is to get out of a relationship. Sometimes the goal is to lose a partner so you can go out with a new partner, and all sorts of different things. But usually it's basically try and find that partner so you can be in a relationship with them. And that's what so much stuff is focused around. So that's what we're going to talk about. But we've got to bring up the featured comic. This week, Quackcast featured a comic called Blessed Days, or Blessed Days. Quai, please tell us about Blessed Days.
Hello, this is Quackcast, and the feature I've selected for this week is Blessed Days by Inky Moon Drop, and it is rated M for mature. Following a private party with Azeloth, Robin Sinclair finds herself expecting an unexpected bundle of demonic joy. Journey through a timeline that encompasses hundreds of years involving alchemy, old-fashioned bicycles, and precious stones. Experience the early struggles of single motherhood through a genuine, kind person who is honestly doing her best. Enter into a world where every character's eerie familiarity with each other is also peculiarity that stretches back centuries in time. The art is displayed through pages in full digital color. Chapter 1 and 2 have completed, and Chapter 3 is on the horizon. Brace for the mayhem, and read Blessed Days by Inky Moondrop, rated M.
And that was Blessed Days, Quackcast telling us about the comic by Inky Moondrop. Okay, so next up we have the featured music. This week, Gun Wallace has given us the theme to Angel Academy. A little like the Ghost in the Shell movie theme, if you remember that. This music soars high through the vaulted stone ceiling of a vast cathedral tower, reaching the heavens and beyond. Golden rays of sun shine down from celestial, silver-tinted clouds, thundering drums, breathy chorus intoning like the notes of panpipes, and all the sounds echo and reverberate imperially. And that was Gummalus with Angel Academy. which is a comic by a sketchy drawer, and it's rated M for mature, so check it out and see what that music applies to. Alright, relationships in comics and movies and all that kind of stuff. Relationships. Well, this is a very, very popular, common kind of a plot in most things. Relationships and characters wanting not to be single, they want to be couples. And, there's various reasons for it. One of the main things is, there's the huge, massive, strong breeding imperative that people have, because we're, creatures who are alive, and in order to stay alive and perpetuate the species, you need to have a breeding imperative to continue to happen. And it's a very, very strong, instinctual, sort of genetic level kind of thing. So we all have this drive. I mean, most of us, some people don't, but obviously most of us do, or our society wouldn't, humanity wouldn't exist, and we wouldn't be 8 billion strong on this planet. So obviously it resonates with people very well to have this in media, because everyone has some kind of feeling for it. We all come from parents, so relationships have happened for us in a sort of distant past, going back millennia to the beginning of the species. So obviously, there is an inbuilt resonance for us. And as I say, that we have always the imperative is there, so that's something as well. So there's a good reason for it to be existing and showing up all the time, but still, it shows up in a particular way. So most of the time, when you're reading about relationships, or you're watching something about it, it's usually always characters needing to find their other half, or wanting to get in a relationship with someone, or maybe they're just after sex, or they're after some ideal love interest. So there's all that kind of stuff. There's all different things that different people are looking for. But I mean, obviously, you don't need to be in a relationship. You don't need to find another half. But so much stuff is, so much media, so many stories do have that as a goal, that we start to think that is the norm, and we start to think that single characters are weird or off, or there's something wrong with them, which, that's a bit of a problem. But, okay, so the whole relationship stuff. Most of the time it's characters wanting to get into a relationship. Some of the time it's characters wanting to get out of a relationship. And some of the time it's characters wanting to find something better. So they're already in a relationship, but their eyes are big, and they want to have either an extramarital affair, or
the bigger, better deal.
Yeah, they want to get with this new person and dump the old one. But that's a bit less. Most of the things are focused around getting into a relationship.
Yeah. And very rare, I mean, and generally, again, I think that is indicative of the human condition at this point, that you have very few situations where, if you have two characters that are to become a couple, you go through the typical will they, won't they, how they get together, how they fall in love, then and how they make it official. But then there is this impasse of, okay, now they are together, what do we do? And you very rarely have this couple continuing as a couple in a steady relationship that is also constructive. You usually have them with different plot devices regurgitating the same arc of will they, won't they divorce, or they are, sort of separated, will they, won't they get together, that sort of thing. So again, you never have a steady relationship where two people grow together or work together towards a certain goal. of course, there are exceptions to that, but
Yeah, it's
very
not
few.
common though.
Yeah, like even now, I'm struggling to really think of power couples that are power couples that were not pre-established. You could have, like, it's more typical to have pre-established power couples, like they are already in a steady relationship, and that's how we meet them.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
a good exception, say, is the American version of The Office, where you have Tim, who's the main character, and Dawn. No, Dawn was the one in the English version. I can't remember the name of the one in the American version. But so that is an example of a kind of a power couple who they aren't together originally. It's like, will they, won't they? Are they going to get together? So she's in a relationship with someone else, and then eventually they get together, and then they are together, and then they get married, and it becomes deeper, and it's not a will they, won't they thing. The only will they, won't they is like, oh, they're together. When will they get married? Oh, when will they move in together? It's that kind of stuff. So that's a good exception.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now that you mention it, I think ironically, one other couple that gets together and stays together is in Friends, Chandler and Monica, if I'm not mistaken. I think they... Yeah, I think so.
I think they were a couple for several years on the show, and still at the end they were together.
Yeah, and they remain so, and then they adopt kids because they can't have their own or something like that. But unlike Ross and Rachel, Chandler and Monica, I hope I get their names right. I haven't seen it for decades.
Yeah, that's right.
Once they get together, like they stay together, and they're a pretty constructive, healthy couple in the sense that they have a healthy relationship, and they both accept each other with their personalities whole. They don't really change for each other. They mesh and grow together as personalities, but without sort of culling themselves to fit the other person.
Yeah.
And that is refreshing. I hadn't thought of, like, now it occurred to me that, okay, there is a couple that works that way.
Oh, so they're more than friends.
Yeah.
Go on, babe.
More than friends.
More than
yeah, the Ross and Rachel thing was more of the will they, won't they, and it kind of, it was a little more at the top. Yeah, it didn't really work, unfortunately, as well. But the Monica Chandler thing worked quite well, I think. Some good stories there, like some more interesting.
Schmidt and so in the New Girl, Zooey Deschanel, her character, and this character called Schmidt. There's a will they, won't they. Oh no, not Schmidt. There's a different character she's in love with. I can't remember the characters' names. There's this Schmidt and Cece, and then there was the New Girl character, Zooey Deschanel, and her lover. I can't remember his name. They eventually got together, and things went. Yeah, I mean, it went more on that path you were talking about, Tans. They're still doing the will they, won't they tension, even though they're together. So that definitely, for both those couples in that, Cece and Schmidt and her man. So they did continue that kind of tension.
And I think that this is a problem not of the characters in any given setting, but of the authors, of the writers, in that I think there is a real grounded fear that if you don't have this will they, won't they tension in some context, that the audience is not going to be interested in the relationship anymore, or in the B plot of the love thing. Okay, so now that is resolved. Now what? Which of course is unfortunate, because I don't think that audiences wouldn't be interested. On the contrary.
Yeah, or maybe like the writing gets harder is part of it. It's not universal. Like finding a mate is such a universal thing, and the will they, won't they is kind of
Mm-hmm.
that tension is more obvious. Once they're together, it's like, okay, now we have to dig in deeper, and
I think
it's tough.
it might be ignorance that might be a problem, because it's very, like you're saying, it's quite easy to do the will they, won't they, and they get comfortable with it, and that's the way they want to do it. But you don't have to have. The whole idea is, we have to have tension to make a story. I mean, Jesus Christ, that's the laziest way to make a story, just with this idea of tension between people or between things. You could just have the characters facing tension together as equals, and it would still work great. You can make it way more interesting, because then they would gang up on problems in different ways. It doesn't have to be like them facing off against each other and their clash of personalities and stuff like that. It's just
exactly.
I just think it's laziness, or
It's I think so too.
Yeah, I agree, and I feel like one of the biggest things when like I sincerely had created a power couple, and then one of them died.
Oh yeah, they're great.
Yeah, and I hated that because I really had planned for them to be a power couple, and then it didn't happen.
Then you messed it up for everyone, Tans.
Yeah. But the point would have been, I mean, assuming that one of them didn't die, they would not entertain the will they, won't they thing anymore. Like, they would just move on forward together to deal with the other issues that they have, which is like the war and everything else. But even supposedly, if they were in peacetime, again, it would be the same sort of progression.
Yeah.
So yeah, hopefully my next power couple doesn't have the same thing.
I hope so too. It would be nice. Yeah, I bet you would be good at writing that.
Oh my God! 1 second.
Okay, some kind of alarm or something. Well, when I think for a couple, I think of Rick and Michonne from Walking Dead. I know you guys don't watch that, but for anyone out there, that was a really neat one.
With the sword, I think.
Yeah, they're both off the show now, but he is the main character of the show. He starts off. He's married, and he's in a coma when the zombie apocalypse happens. Wakes up, and for maybe a couple episodes, he's trying to find his family, his wife and son. He finds them. There's a lot of tension in his marriage. She ends up, spoiler alert, dying early. And Michonne comes in as a new member of the ensemble, but no romance, no real sparks right away, other than she's new and they don't trust her right away. And over multiple seasons of her as part of the team and him as the leader, they eventually they get closer and they get together, and after that they're just together, and they're a power couple, kind of emotionally, but also they kick ass together. It's great to watch, and they're great together, the actors, and they're getting their own show. Both the characters are coming back together on a show, and it's pretty exciting.
Oh, wow, that's cool. So spin-off.
Yeah, it'll be nice to. They've both been off the show for years now, so it'll be cool to see them together. Both really good actors and great characters.
Yeah, all right, and probably diverges from how it went in the comic. I imagine.
Yeah, he was a couple with another character in the comics. I think maybe they used some similar stuff. I don't know. I didn't read the comics, but Michonne was in the comics, but he was in a relationship with some other character, Angie, or I don't remember her name.
Okay. Yeah.
Character who died on the show.
Yeah, they probably put them together because Michonne's more interesting than her.
Oh yeah, she is interesting. They're interesting combo visually. She's got the swords and everything. Like, outstanding actors, great chemistry, and all that. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, well, so here we are, another exception. It's always exceptions that are all.
Yeah, well, they stand out in your mind because of it's a kind of rare.
True, they do. They stand out in your mind, so that's why, we come across them. Whereas all the legions of, well, they won't days who just peter out. They fade into obscurity. Fade away.
Yeah.
But, so,
my Kaiju Valentine couple doesn't count because they're together already when the comic starts.
Yeah, it's like Tant said, the pre-existing power couple.
Yes, but spoiler alert, I don't know yet, but I think they're going to stay together. They're going to get through it together. Quick and thin, big and small. Yeah.
Oh dear.
She'll get a tiny little dog. He'll get a giant dog, and it'll be the same dog.
That's amazing. I love that.
Very clever. Very clever, Baines.
Just thought of it now. That's how good I am.
So a Great Dane then.
Exactly.
Yeah, so the whole getting together or having a couple. What about the ones where it's all about the breakup, trying to get rid of the other person? Are there many of those?
Not many come to mind. Like you're talking without, it's not a get rid of someone you're with to be with the one you want or the true match. This is just a plot where it's just a breakup. Yeah.
How many of those are there? Not many, I don't. Because obviously that's not as interesting to people.
Right. It's very specific.
Yeah, and that's why it's a rare thing. Just having a breakup. I mean, there's movies called The Breakup. Not that we can even remember them.
Yeah, I didn't see it.
I mean, there are a few like that, and they're touching, they're interesting, because it's such an unusual way of going about things. But yeah, it's not a typical thing. So, all right, then the next real typical one is the one where you're with someone, but you want someone better.
Yeah, that's super. That's like a variation or just a permutation of the regular romantic story, right? With the romance.
Yeah, already with someone, but this is the true love.
Yeah.
This is the one they need. This is the one that's going to make life right for them. Finally, everything will click. The universe will make sense. And they'll get the relationship they always wanted. So that is a very kind of typical cliche kind of way of doing things.
And that's also another thing that is really, I consider it toxic. I mean, the word is overused, but in the sense that it is poisonous. It poisons the way that we think about relationships. And now I'm talking from a more sort of scientific standpoint, in the sense that you have to find your other half. You have to find the one, and then he or she or they or whoever will be yours, which is also a very possessive thing, and nobody else's, and you have acquired them. So all of this is completely against the vast majority, at least, of the human existence, in the sense that we are a dynamic entity. Every person is a dynamic entity. Who you need right now is not who you needed 10 years ago, and is not who you are going to need in 10 years or next month. What do I mean by this? You may find a person that evolves with you, and you always are who you need for each other. But chances are that you are just following on your own path. Your path crosses for a while, and then it might diverge, and you might need something else, both of you. And that's totally fine. That is a very natural thing. There is no one. There is no, my one true love, all of that tribe that, especially girls, but not only girls, boys as well are raised like, the handsome prince, the fair lady, and the match made in the cosmic fabric of the universe that can never change, fate, blah, blah, blah. So, it involves an element of stagnancy in human relationships, and in life, whatever is stagnant becomes slowly eroding cesspool of things. And what do I mean by this? When you enter a relationship, you have to be aware that you are in the here and now. You do not make oaths for eternity because you don't know who you are going to be. You are truthful for now, for who you are now, but you might evolve into someone completely different through your life and the experiences that you have. And the other person might not evolve with you, or they might evolve completely different than you. And that's fine. You don't need to stay with them.
I think one of the reasons they do this in media is like, especially say a good example is Fry and Leela in Futurama. So these two characters like destined to be together, and they always come together in the end. But I think the reason for that is because this is a highly stylized depiction of how people are, and watchers, the audience is invested so deeply in these characters that they've watched that they need them to be together. So I don't think they're necessarily thinking, oh, this is real, or this is how I would be with my lover. It's more like, I just want these two characters to get together because, they're a stylized depiction. We don't actually think those two are real. And having them together is like, oh, my two favorite characters are coming together.
I mean, that kind of thing, this is a separate topic maybe, but like raises the question, is that what the viewers want still? Or is that just what the writers, like the creators, committed to this idea of Fry and Leela or whoever it is on whatever show? And it sort of feels forced at a certain point. I think of this specifically because of Futurama, that it started to feel like, well, does it really need to be Fry and Leela together? Like, I don't really care personally. Maybe they could have let that go. Maybe they did. I don't know. I haven't seen the newer ones.
Or you know what? When they force two characters together, and what I meant, all of that I described is not that. Okay, you look at your favorite characters and then you say, oh, this is going to be me. I'm not saying that, although that also happens. It's just that this is the process of modeling. It's a very big staple of behaviorism in the sense that you want and you imitate what you see. And a lot of the things that we see growing up set examples. And set examples of what to expect and what to want and how to go get it, and so on and so forth. So that's what I said. I'm not saying that everyone that watches, I don't know, Pride and Prejudice is going to, expect that a rude a-hole is going to turn into Mr. Darcy. Okay, I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that it primes people to expect certain things and perhaps even wish for certain things, whether they immediately realize it or not. And then there's the other element that goes a lot more close to what Dane said, that they force the whole relationship thing into a lot of situations that it is not necessary. Like two characters that work very well as friends, but now they have to kiss. And you see there is no freaking chemistry between these two people. But the script, the script orders them to just become a couple. And then, like a footnote, they suddenly kiss towards the end. And
Right.
there is no build up, there is no chemistry, it is not earned to have that kiss in the end. That sort of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a bit weak when that happens. Quite weak.
I think it behooves the if I can use the word behooves. I hope I'm using it right. We'll find out. It behooves the writers to on a longer term, like a longer running show, like a series or something, especially, or a book series of novels or whatever, to be as objective as they can. Like, is this? And I don't know how you do this, other than it's sort of an intuition. Maybe kind of listening to the audience and kind of intuition. Like, are these people, like, do they really belong together, or do they not? And not even if you had an early plan, like, to be sort of like open to changing that. And I say that with the understanding that that's hard to do as a writer. You get attached to your ideas,
Yeah.
Because there are definitely some shows where it's like those two have to end up together. Even if the romance is just a subplot, it's like they belong together. Like, it's crystal clear as a fan.
Mm-hmm.
And some where it's
they had, say in what was that TV series? How I Met Your Mother. Okay, so that was a famous one, and they had these characters, Ted and Robin, who got together in the very first episode, and all throughout every season of the show, they were always being pushed back together. Even though they'd broken up in that first season, they were always getting pushed back together, as if, that they were the one for each other. Even though the show was clearly kind of focused around this idea of him meeting these children's mother, and she is clearly stated not to be the mother of these children in the very beginning of the show, and she's always referred to as as Aunt Robin. So they don't get together, but still these characters are always going, oh, but I love her, and maybe she's the one for me, or maybe I love him, maybe he's the one. So that was interesting. These characters were always forced together, and it did feel quite off after a while.
And that literally they planned that from the very beginning. Like, she's not going to be the mother, but those two characters will end up together. And they even filmed scenes as the kid characters were growing up over the years. They filmed scenes early to be ready for that revelation at the end. I didn't even watch the show. I read about it though, because the fandom was kind of split on it. It was interesting, but yeah, they kind of like, we want these two together. It'll be a will they, won't they, for 18 years or however long that show ran.
I don't think it was that long. I think it was like
whatever. And they have that plan. So that's, you roll the dice though, because it starts to feel like, well, what if it's not working? It's like, well, this is the way we're doing it. I guess they could have abandoned it if they really thought, oh, it's not working. It would have sucked, but
it's an interesting. That particular sitcom is interesting because rather than going with a sitcom idea focused around these characters and their interactions, and by the by, they'll just have relationships, and that's going to be like the meat for the comedy, as it is in most sitcoms. Instead, it's all like a long-running romantic comedy, and it has all the toxic weirdness that romantic comedies have spread out over the entire length of the sitcom, so it's quite strange in that way. All different aspects, all different kinds of relationships are depicted in this. Not so much a focus on same-sex relationships. There is a little bit of a focus on that, but it's just different aspects of different kinds of relationships. the fellow who wants to always get married and look for the one. That's Ted. And then you have like Barney, who is the player, having those very short-term relationships. And really wouldn't matter if it's straight or same-sex. Those are reflected, equally across all kinds of, gay, lesbian, bi, whatever, trans. You can have those kind of relationships in those kind of mixes. And you have a couple who is like gets married very early on and stay as a power couple all the way through. So you have that kind of thing as well. And Robin, who is not like Ted in that she's moody and wants to have the one, and she's not like Barney in that he's like a serial philanderer. She's more like someone who gets into casual relationships with people. So, yeah, it's an interesting kind of cross-section, and the way it goes through relationships in that way. It's a real kind of real macrocosm of all the different kind of relationships you can have.
That sounds like a good approach. Yeah, I mean, I didn't really watch the show, like I said, but that seems like a good way to go about it. Yeah.
That sounds like a very good outlier, honestly.
Well, I mean, it is in some ways, and it isn't in some other ways, because it's too focused on relationships and characters always needing to be with someone. So you don't have a character who is happy of being single. That's not reflected in it.
Mm-hmm.
Or
you cannot be perfect.
People who are happy with autonomy. It's always we have to have someone else in our lives to.
They could have explored that with at least a couple of the characters, But I guess the template they had, this person, she's like with these casual relationships that don't work, and these two are, they sort of had it planned out what each character was, I guess.
Yeah, and they stuck with it. Well, I mean, there is an interesting trajectory to some of the way the characters go. Barney the philanderer gets together with Robin, the casual girl, and things change drastically for those characters, and that is quite interesting. But we won't just talk about How I Met Your Mother. There's a new version which is focusing on a lady character this time instead of a male character, and she's telling her kids how she met, and it's updated for a new generation of viewers. And I don't think it's doing as well.
So what I'm thinking is, to get away a little bit from talking about sitcoms and stuff and go more into the nitty-gritty of the narrative process and how to create certain stories. What are some relationship tropes that you absolutely love and some that you absolutely hate? And is there any spin on the one that you hate that you love?
Okay, one of them that I love so much is when two characters look like they're going to get together, and maybe they do, but then they decide, actually, no, we just want to be friends, and they stay as friends for the entire length of the thing, and that's just their relationship. They are good friends, and no kind of sex between them. Say like Elaine and Jerry it's a sitcom, but that's an example in Seinfeld, and there's a few others. I mean, it's not so common, but platonic relationships, especially between a man and a woman, or even two gay guys or two gay women, where there is a potential for a sexual relationship, and yet these characters choose not to do that. I find that enormously interesting. So that's mine.
Nice one. And I agree with that one. I mean, the ultimate example would be there. And I think I've brought this up many times on the Quackcast already, probably, but Mulder and Scully before they got together. What a great relationship. And like,
they should never have gotten together. Like, what the hell?
Worst idea ever. Yeah. And that was the random idea, apparently. Yeah. I know. Yeah.
just
But
wrong.
this is working relationship, and like deep becomes deeper than they're very different. It becomes like a deep friendship, closer, deeper than family, deeper than regular friendship, but it's never a romance.
Exactly. Like they
Right.
have something that is so freaking rare. It is super rare, and they are two people that are creating a relationship out of their circumstances, basically. And
Yeah.
why do you need them to have sex for crying out loud? Why?
The worst. Yeah.
Yeah. And they don't have that kind of chemistry. The thing is that they also don't have that kind of chemistry. That's the thing. Like if
No.
somehow they did have that chemistry, okay, but they don't really look like the people that they don't look like each other's type in a sense. I don't know if that makes sense.
No,
Not intellectually each other's type.
Yeah, it always feels weird. It always felt weird.
Yeah, like weird in like almost like their siblings. It's like,
Yeah.
it's like, do I want to
Point.
watch this?
Exactly.
Yeah, it feels wrong. It feels nasty, icky. But yeah, characters who are close, but they don't have that kind of sexual relationship, and you know they're not going to have it, and there's not like a longing or unrequited thing, or you are my perfect. Just I don't like that.
Yeah,
Like,
no.
No, I want them to be comfortable.
And the thing that I hate in the sense that when you have usually what they do or they used to do, I don't know if that is a thing anymore, but I remember like when I was a teenager growing up, where I really wanted to see friends, like the platonic couple, the friends, man and woman going out there having adventures or whatever, is that for that to happen, one of them was gay.
Oh
And
yeah,
I
that's
hated
the cop
that.
out.
Like, why do they need to be gay?
Yeah,
Or
and it's not because you don't want them to be gay or you're homophobic.
No.
It's the fact that you're scared. You're scared that the audience will think that these two should be mates. You know, they should be in a sexual relationship unless you specifically take one off the table.
exactly.
And that's what you're doing, and that's a cop out.
That's a cop out. That's the thing.
It'd be better if they were both gay and they're not in a relationship together. You know, do that.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
Then you get into the toxic problem of the roommates, and they're not really, gay because they are. So that's a bad thing, but that's got history behind it.
That
gay people can't be gay.
Yeah, no. But the thing is that let men and women be friends. Like that. That's a thing that does happen. So that's the one thing that is my pet hate. And the other thing is the love triangle. I really hate that. I hate the love triangle, especially when it is not even. Like you have the person of interest, and then the two people competing. You have one that is the obvious choice, and you have an a-hole on the other side. Like she's not going to pick or he is not going to pick her or whatever, mix and match the genders and sexual orientations, but because one is simply a bad person, that's why they're not going to be together.
Yeah.
Okay, so with love triangles, right, almost all the time there's one character that two characters like, and this main character might go with that one, or they might go with that one. How about the love triangles where it's more equilateral? So this character likes this character, likes this character, likes this character.
No, that's
tragic. Are there many like that?
Not
that's cool. I'd like that.
Yeah,
that's weird.
I don't like it because I feel sorry for everyone.
You can, but everyone's sort of equally messed up rather than there being that imbalance.
Yeah. the one thing that I do like is sort of the love triangle that does not really exist, and that's why I did that in my comic, in the sense that there is someone that would love to be a contender, but there really is no contentions. The couple has already chosen, in a sense.
Yeah.
So you don't really have a love triangle. You just have one person being a nuisance.
Or
So
like, oh, like he wishes or she wishes.
yeah, and
Yeah.
so
Who is
yeah, that is. I'm amused by this.
who is that in your comic?
Oh my god,
That was
I missed-
Orestes
that was
for a while.
Orestes.
Okay.
So Orestes thought that because Basil and Martha had broken up, that this was his chance to have a chance with Martha. But Martha was never interested. Never. She was never interested in him. Like not
Right.
once. And she
Yeah.
never signaled being interested in him. But yeah, he
That's
still,
what I like. I like that. That's real life, That's like
yeah,
real people. That happens. Yeah.
yeah. And then when he got it, it was like a little too late, and he felt bad about it. But yeah, because he
Oh,
couldn't
well.
understand that he had no chance. That's the thing. That it's not that, oh, I'm going to make her. That I hate. Like she doesn't want me, or he doesn't want me, but I'm going to make them want me. That's another thing that I really hate, because that's
Okay.
very manipulative, and that exists in real life, and I also hate it when I see it in real life.
Yeah. Of course. Yeah.
Yeah. But Orestes was not like that. He was sort of like, oh, now is my chance. I'm going to jump to it.
Yeah.
It wasn't like I'm going to make her love me. It's like I'm going to present myself, and she's going to be swept off her feet. That's what he was thinking. Poor guy.
Yeah, well, and the destined to be together one is just a bit nasty. I mean,
Yeah,
there's
that's the
good ways to handle it.
overwrought. Yeah.
Saying Princess Bride, that's a good way to handle it. That was comic and ironic
That was,
and fun.
yeah, that was
Yeah.
not really taking itself seriously. Only mostly.
Right.
No, only mostly seriously.
I think. Yeah, exactly. The meant to be together thing or have to be together, that's an organic thing, I think. Like it's
Yeah.
something that grows kind of
Yeah.
naturally out of characters, and it's like, oh, obviously, like the chemistry's there, and these two characters, it just fits. It would just feel wrong if they weren't.
Yeah.
Yeah, naturalistic relationships. Those are good, as you say, organic when they grow. That's quite realistic, and because it is, it works and it fits.
Mm-hmm.
Fits well.
Mm-hmm.
I do like also depictions of pre-existing couples who are good together. So we've got those two couples, that couple in How I Met Your Mother. I can't remember the character names. Lily and Marshall. Say Bob's Burgers. We have Bob and his wife. Who his wife is? I can't remember. That's a great kind of thing. So
His wife,
those kind of relationships work well. Oh, sorry, what's that, Ben?
His wife's name is Burgers.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
All right. Okay.
So those kind of things work really well. Or we have, I don't know, in Archer, the relationship between Archer and who's the lady who's for him in there? Lana. Yeah.
Lana. Yeah.
So they sort of get together and they get away from each other, and they have like weird toxic stuff, and then they have their own relationships apart from each other, and they continually bounce together, but it works for some reason.
Yeah.
It works that they continually bounce backwards and forwards. So that's one that's weirdly enough works. Those characters are wrong for each other, and they alternatively hate each other and actually love other people, but then they always kind of end up together in the end. But they're not forced together. They just sort of organically coalesce.
Yeah, that seems they could end up together. They could end up not together, and like it's kind of they can go either way, and they'll do whatever works.
Exactly, and you as an audience member don't actively want them to be together. Sometimes you do. It depends, because the writing is so good. It makes you feel the way that the writers want you to feel, I think.
Yeah.
Which is how it should be done.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we're coming towards the end of things, so what? Any final thoughts? Best couple ever? Do you think the characters have to be couples? Should there be more happy singles in things? I think there should be.
Yeah. I think being a happy single makes for a better couple later if that happens.
Oh, sometimes it doesn't. When the person's too set in their own ways.
Yeah, could be. But if you're not sort of thirsting for anyone, you're more likely to not to just take from a relationship, but also give. So.
Yeah, very true. Well, you're not desperate to be in a relationship. That's sad.
Yeah. Don't be sad. Don't make sad couples in your stories. Okay, bye.
Bye.